There are moments in life that defy all logic, moments that science cannot explain and human understanding cannot measure. This is one of those moments. Imagine a man declared dead. No pulse, no breath, no heartbeat. Doctors step back. The machines go silent. The room fills with a cold stillness. Family members cry and whisper prayers they don't even fully understand. And then, after 90 long minutes, something happens that leaves even the doctors speechless. This is the true story of a man who was gone for 90 minutes, yet came back with a message that will change the way you see life and death forever. His name is Dr. Tony Lawrence, a respected heart surgeon from Texas. He believed in medicine, in science, in facts. He had saved many lives, but never imagined he would face his own death one morning in a way that no one could explain. It began on a clear, bright day. The sun rose gently over the city. Dr. Lawrence smiled at his wife Hannah and their 3 children before leaving home. He promised to be home for dinner early. It was a normal day until his heart stopped. On his way to the hospital, he suddenly felt a burning pain in his chest. It was deep and sharp, like a knife twisting inside. He pulled his car to the side of the road, gripping his chest. He tried to call for help, but the phone slipped from his hand. His vision darkened and everything went silent. Moments later, his car drifted off the road and hit a tree. The crash caught the attention of nearby drivers. Within minutes, paramedics arrived. They broke open the car door, pulled him out, and began chest compressions. No pulse, no breathing, no sign of life. They tried everything they could, electric shocks, oxygen, every medical procedure possible, but his body did not respond. At the hospital, they continued for more than 40 minutes. The room was filled with nurses, doctors, and the sound of machines trying to force life back into his heart. But nothing worked. Finally, the lead doctor looked at the clock and said the words no one ever wants to hear. Time of death, 9:21 a.m. His body was covered with a white sheet. The machines were turned off. His wife was called to say goodbye. But what no one knew was that Dr. Lawrence was not gone. He was seeing something far beyond this world. He later said that the moment his heart stopped, he felt his body become light. He could see the room from above, watching the doctors and nurses working frantically to bring him back. He saw his wife crying in the hallway, but then everything faded away into complete peace. He said it was like stepping into light, a light so bright and pure that it felt alive. It didn't blind him, it embraced him. It wasn't just light, it was love. Dr. Lawrence said, "I felt no fear, no pain, only peace, a peace that cannot be explained by words. It was like being home for the first time." He looked around and saw a place filled with colors that do not exist on earth. There were fields that shone with light, rivers that looked like liquid glass, and music that seemed to come from everywhere. Then, he said, a figure appeared before him, clothed in radiant white, brighter than lightning yet gentle as the morning sun. He knew at once who it was. It was Jesus Christ. Dr. Lawrence said that when Jesus looked into his eyes, he saw everything he had ever done, every moment of kindness, every mistake, every thought. Yet he felt no shame, only love, complete and pure. Jesus spoke to him softly and said, "Handwish, Tony, your time is not yet. I have work for you to do. You must go back." Tony didn't want to return. He felt no pain there, no sorrow, no fear. He said, it was more real than life itself. The air was alive with joy. But then Jesus reached out his hand, and Tony heard his wife's voice crying from far away, saying, "Please God, bring him back to me." In that moment, Jesus said to him, "Your wife's prayer has reached heaven. Go and tell the world that I am real." Then everything went dark. Back on earth, 90 minutes had passed since his death. Doctors had left the room. The sheet covered his body. His wife had been praying non-stop, refusing to leave the hospital chapel. And then suddenly, the monitor began to beep. A nurse screamed, "He has a pulse!" The doctor rushed back in disbelief. Dr. Lawrence took a deep breath and opened his eyes. The room froze. The man who had been dead for 90 minutes was alive. One nurse fell to her knees. Another began to cry. The doctor who had declared him dead could not move. Tony's first words were not what anyone expected. He whispered, "Jesus is real." He spent the next few days in the hospital recovering slowly. Doctors couldn't explain it. His brain had been without oxygen for too long, yet he had no brain damage. His heart began working normally. Every test came back clear. The medical team called it impossible, but Tony called it a miracle. He said later, "Science can measure the heartbeat, but it cannot measure the power that starts it." He began to tell his story everywhere he went, not to prove something to anyone, but to remind people that life does not end when the body stops. He said, "I have seen what waits beyond death. It is not darkness, it is light. And that light has a name, Jesus." When Dr. Lawrence returned home, he couldn't stop thinking about what he saw. He said the memories of heaven were more real than anything on earth. He remembered walking beside the river that shone like crystal. He could hear singing, not from one voice but from thousands blending perfectly. It was music that filled the air with peace. He said he saw people dressed in white robes, smiling, radiant, full of joy. Some of them looked familiar, faces he had seen in old photographs of his grandparents who had passed away years ago. But he said the greatest moment was when he saw a great golden gate in the distance. Light poured through it, and he felt drawn to it, as if his soul was being pulled by love itself. That was when Jesus appeared again and said, "This is not yet your time. Go back and tell them that I am the way, the truth, and the life." Then, just like that, he woke up in the hospital bed. Dr. Lawrence said that from that day he could no longer live the same way. He sold his expensive car, closed his private clinic, and began traveling to share his story. He told thousands of people what he saw, always ending his talk with a simple truth. Death is not the end. There is more, much more. He often read these words from the Bible, "In my Father's house are many rooms. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you." Tony said, "When Jesus told me there were many rooms, I understood it. I saw them. They are not rooms made of stone, but spaces filled with light and love. Every soul has a place prepared by God." He also shared how he saw the power of prayer from heaven's side. He said, "I could see my wife kneeling on the hospital floor, crying out to God. I saw her words rise like light. I realized prayer is not just words, it is power." One of the nurses who witnessed his return to life said that after seeing him wake up, she went home and prayed for the first time in 10 years. She said, "If God could bring a dead man back after 90 minutes, then nothing is impossible." Dr. Lawrence became known as the doctor who died and lived again. But he always said, "This story is not about me. It is about the God who still works miracles today." He continued to tell people about heaven until the end of his life. He passed away peacefully years later, surrounded by his family, saying with his final breath, "Do not be afraid. The light is waiting." His story has touched millions of lives across the world. It reminds us that faith is not a dream, it is real. That God's power is not a story, it is alive. And that death is not the end, it is a door. As the Bible says, "I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me will live, even though they die." And also, "O Lord, you brought me up from the grave, you spared me from going down to the pit." Dr. Lawrence's experience gives a message to everyone who listens. Do not give up on life. Do not lose hope. There is a reason you are still here. He said, "If you are breathing, you are not forgotten. God still has a purpose for you." Sometimes the greatest miracles don't happen in bright moments. They happen in silence, in prayer, in faith that refuses to let go. And when all hope seems lost, God still speaks. Maybe this story reached you for a reason. Maybe it is to remind you that no matter how dark life feels, there is light beyond it. The same power that brought Dr. Lawrence back after 90 minutes of death is still working in the world today. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope.